And we are back at Up North at 4 with Ted, the lake guy. So we talked a little bit about walleyes, but let's clarify a little bit about that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about walleyes is in fact their eyes. There's a special, walleyes are able to see very well in the dark, and that's because they have an extra reflective layer inside the eyeball that kind of multiplies the light that comes in, so they can see in a lot lower light, and that gives them an advantage as predators.
Do you know where the name walleye comes from?
It's just because the eyes are kind of, there's a term walleye for a person's eye that's not quite right, and walleyes look from certain angles, if the light hits their eye, eyes look kind of strange. So that's why they're called walleye.
Okay. Well, I was just reading your book here, and really interesting on page 46, I see that there are fish scale rings like you'd have on like a tree trunk, and you can use that to identify how old the fish might be. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. The fish are born with all the scales they're ever going to have.
Wait, no way.
Yes, absolutely.
They don't grow them?
No, they don't grow new ones. They just, the scales just get bigger as the fish gets bigger, and that's why we see the annual rings.
But then, so they grow a new ring every year?
That's kind of like a tree, yeah.
Okay, but you just said they have all the scales when they're
the number of scales.
So how can you identify a fish by age if they have the number of scales that they have at birth?
Well, because each scale adds a ring with each year of the fish's life.
I see. So one kind of a scale exists not just on a flat surface, but also going away from the fish's body for perhaps centimeters. Okay.
Yeah. So you can take a scale and put it under a microscope and count the rings and have a pretty good idea how old the fish is.
So that's how you would determine the age then, right?
Yeah, and another way is to take the ear bone out of the fish, called the otolith, and that also grows rings that they can determine. And actually, biologists consider that to be more accurate. But in order to take the ear bones out and age the fish, you have to kill the fish. So
it's hard on the fish.
Yeah, so they don't do that except in research projects. So.
Well, I know a lot of fishermen talk about cold water versus warm water. Our meteorologist Chase was having some difficulty early in the year because the water was still cold. How do walleye respond to cold versus warm water?
Well, walleyes prefer colder water. Among the fish, the game fish that live in our lakes, walleyes are more of a cool water fish, whereas largemouth bass are more of a warmer water fish.
And Ted, I'm so sorry, I got to cut you off. I think we only have about 20 seconds here.
Okay.
So anything else you want to say in these last 20 seconds?
Oh, just remember, when you go out fishing, just appreciate what remarkable creatures the fish are. Enjoy them for their beauty and their capability.
And more information on fish can be found in this book, A Lakeside Companion, written by you, sold on?
Anywhere you can buy books. I always like to say The Shade Tree in Minocqua and Mind Chimes in Three Lakes.
Okay, well, thank you, Ted, so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this break.